Hey everyone, I'm Ryan Durgy coming to you from the HTL studio in Toronto. And on today's episode of Here to Listen, that's HEAR, Here to Listen, I'm joined by R&B singer-songwriter Jared Daniel. What if we grow from here? Make you a home, you and me. If you leave, what if we grow? Now, the last year has been a busy one for Jared as he approached close to 500,000 streams, performed for sold-out crowds, and opened for the likes of R&B stars Mario and T-Pain. And now he's here to share his story with us. Please welcome to the show, Jared Daniel. Hey, Jared.
Hey, how are you? Thanks for having me.
I'd love to start by you sharing more about your early story, which I find really interesting and how you got into music.
Yeah, my early story. So I grew up one of four boys. I have three brothers. And we, my dad, he's a musician. So he toured around, plays guitar, sings still. I think he's like close to 65 and he's still doing it.
Wow.
Um, and so, yeah, growing up, I was definitely just around music all the time and musicians hanging out at the house. And so I was kind of just like introduced to the positive aspects of like the vibe that surrounds music from an early age. It wasn't like you need to go to piano lessons, you need to go to this, you need to do that, kind of like a mathematical approach to music. It was more just like vibes and like introducing me to what that feels like and sounds like and tastes like. So that's kind of what hooked me on music from a very young age. And then from there, I think me and my brothers, we rebelled against my dad and just played sports for a long time. I played football, I played college basketball. And
Oh, yeah.
as your body sort of falls apart, for me, I realized, music was a bit more sustainable and really close to my heart. So yeah, 2020 was kind of when I formally came out and released music for the first time. And in the pandemic, and I've just been riding that since then.
What was your dad's reaction at that point? Was he like, I always knew it. I always told you.
Yeah, I think he started to get more involved and he plays with me sometimes too. Like he plays bass really well. Um but I think for him it's music is just like whether you're doing it like in the public's eye and like commercially or if you're just doing it for fun. I think for him it's the exact same thing. And
Yeah.
so he does it. Yeah, it's just whether I think for him, and then I'll probably adopt this myself, like whether I'm successful at this thing or not, it won't make any difference because it'll just be something we do until we're old and gray, right? Oh, he's already
Yeah.
old and gray, but yeah, yeah.
Don't tell him that.
I won't tell him that. He probably will. I
And
hope he doesn't watch it. Yeah.
so you talked about sports and how that really got you into music. And
Hmm.
I believe it was, you were playing basketball and Space Jam was a big movie back then. And so you started listening to the Space Jam soundtrack, right? And that sparked some of your desire to actually sing R&B.
Yeah, I was immersed in sports for sure. And so then basketball more so than football. I was a kid, so I liked cartoons, got the movie, got the soundtrack, introduced to Monica, D'Angelo, R. Kelly, these songs, and I was just amazed. And from there, I just naturally started to listen to, the whole sort of menu of amazing R&B talent that was going on at that time in the early 2000s, like Brian
Yeah.
McKnight, Avant, Music Soul Child, Usher, just the list kind of goes on and on and on. Um, and so, yeah, I think from that, I just had so many amazing options, especially at that time. And then I think, Chris Brown came along and sort of, for a moment there, eclipsed like all of these other amazing R&B talent. But it looks like they're kind of all coming back. Like I think Music Soul Child's dropping an album right away here too. But yeah, that was kind of my journey. As like it might be a little bit confusing, like a Calgary Western Canadian, white male singing R&B music instead of country music, um, is definitely a little bit of how I think my journey was shaped from a young age. Yeah.
Yeah, and I remember you talking about how, not having the money to be able to play, a sport like hockey that can be quite
Right.
expensive. And so you ended up playing basketball. Do you think that if you would have gone a different route in the world of sports, that your musical journey would have been different?
Yeah, for sure. Like you go to an NHL game and like in the breaks, there'll be like AC/DC playing, right? But you go to like a Raptors game and as you're going up the court, you got, Drake playing, right? So
Yeah.
I mean, that's just like definitely stereotyping or typecasting of like this type of sport has this type of music. Not always the case, but just like in general, I guess, especially when you're just playing the sport and not really paying attention to music, like you're just sort of caught up in whatever is going on. I
Yeah.
think it just like it gets into your head eventually to the point where it's like a part of you. It's not like something you're trying to like put on or
Yeah.
you know what I mean? And I can like, I think it's cool, especially now when like rock and some like punk rock sort of fuses into R&B and like some of these cool fusions that happen. Um, for sure. But I think what I noticed is like after just like living the life that I lived, the unique life that I lived, and sort of like opening my eyes and looking at my peers that kind of are like me and seeing how we're so completely different and just wondering why. Um, I started to kind of think about it like, how did that actually happen?
Yeah.
you know?
Would you ever be jamming out on the court? Like a song would come on the speakers and you
Yeah.
be jamming out on the sidelines?
I think it's a big thing. Yeah. Like anyone who played basketball knows like just warming up and some of these like burnt CDs we used to have from like LimeWire and I guess Napster, LimeWire at the time, like you'd burn a CD and throw it on like the high school gym's system or whatever it was and play this rap music. And some of it was just like the worst swear words, like craziness, and like your parents are in the stands. You're just like, what's going on? Yeah, those are like really, really good memories. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that always being a thing, like at the talent shows, having to try to find the non-explicit version to play.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Best memories. Or like the CD player that had like five. You like throw all five CDs in and it's just you pick. Yeah.
Again. And I still love the way you love me. And I still love the way you hold me. I tried to run away, but you control me. And I still love the way you love me.
You talked about sports and that being a big part of your upbringing, and I know that you've described sports as poetry in motion and said
Yeah.
R&B and basketball are synonymous. So what did you mean by that?
I think it's very flowy. I mean, you could probably argue this for anything. Like, I guess hockey is very like glidey, flowy, like they're literally just gliding. And
Yeah.
and ice is very smooth, you know. So you could probably argue that R&B is for hockey too. Um, but I don't know. I think basketball is sort of like dancing. I'm pretty sure. Like certain movements, if you do them a certain way, they have to be in a bit of a cadence, I guess, in order to like manipulate the person who's defending you,
Yeah.
because like they're expecting you to like shoot. So if you kind of move your body in that direction, they move their body in that direction. And you need to do it like that to get them to do that so that you can now do this. So it has to be like coordinated. And I think because basketball movements are so similar to dancing, um, that's why it works with R&B music. I'm literally thinking of this answer like on the spot. And I'm pretty sure people don't dance so much to like rock music, or if they do, they're just like flailing their arms or something like that. Um, and people dance more to R&B music than they do to the rock music. That's my answer. Final answer.
Do you have moves?
Not really. I kind of just like, I kind of just sway. I'm like 6'4", so I'm not like a small person. And so I just kind of like move.
Can we
I
see? Can we see like what your moves would
some
be?
moves.
Yeah, yeah,
Just
yeah.
like for me, I'm just like literally just like moving my head, just kind of like grooving. I think it's like whenever I'm like trying to dance, that's when it all goes wrong. But when I just like let the music literally like consume my body and just literally like honestly feel it, I
Yeah.
feel as though I'm dancing, at least in my mind,
Yeah.
you know?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I think that's like Jay-Z, right? Like he said, like in the studio, if like his neck doesn't hurt, he's like not gonna be about the song.
Oh
So
really?
it's like if it doesn't literally attack your body, then like the beat probably sucks.
So is that
You
how
know?
you judge your songs sometimes?
Yeah, literally. Like if I'm listening to a beat, someone sends it to me, like I
Yeah.
gotta, you know what I mean? It needs to make me move at least a little bit,
Yeah.
you
Yeah, I
know?
feel that for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just a quick break. I'd like to thank everyone for listening or watching this episode and ask that you support the podcast by subscribing on Apple Podcasts, following on Spotify, leaving a review, subscribing on YouTube, following us on social media. Those are just a few ways that you can support, and it's all free. So follow us on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, subscribe on YouTube. The username is Here to Listen Pod. That's HEAR, Here to Listen Pod, POD. For those listening, I'm putting up a heart right now. Thank you. Now back to the show. And, being involved in athletics, were you ever judged for also having a passion for singing?
It's pretty funny. So I played like junior football. It's kind of like equivalent like junior college football. And again, I was really just trying to follow in my older brother's footsteps. Like he played Division I football in Michigan and
Wow.
like amazing athlete. I was like, I want to be cool like that. Like I was always in his shadow, but like he's such an amazing guy. So it was like a really awesome shadow to be in. Um, but I genuinely do love sports. I should say that too. Maybe just not as much as he does. So yeah, I was playing football and like for example, we'd be on like a trip, we'd be traveling to go play like a team in Vancouver or something like that. And our bus, like these, Greyhound type buses, they have that little microphone at the front,
Yeah.
right? And so like oftentimes it would just be like a joke. My like these big like macho like football dudes, right? They'd be like, "Oh, Jared, like sing us a song." So it was like a bus full of like men, I was like,
Yeah.
"This is how we do it," or something like that, and they're just like, "Yeah." Everyone's just freaking out, and so it's kind of like it was accepted, but it was like, oh, that's that funny thing that Jared does. Like he sings really well,
Oh,
but it's like never in a million years will he ever like take it seriously. Like it's just like you know, that dude's double jointed. That guy can sing really well in a funny kind of way. That
yeah.
guy can do this. That guy can do that. It was just kind of like that.
So what gave you the confidence to actually, take it seriously? If everyone around you was kind of just taking it as a joke, what gave you the confidence
Yeah.
to actually come out and show off your music
Yeah.
publicly like that?
I think in Calgary here, it's a pretty welcoming scene. Like, no one is too, I don't know. I don't know how to say this in a positive way. Like we're very like just kind, welcoming people. I hope that's the experience that anyone listening to this has had in Calgary.
Yeah.
You haven't been hanging out with the right people in Calgary if it's not your experience. But yeah, so there was a place called Koi or Cafe Koi at the time, and it was just a very chill place where you could go and play like an open mic set on a Tuesday night. And I had a friend, Moel, so he's an artist in Toronto, incredible Ethiopian Canadian R&B folk soul sort of artist in Toronto, Moel. If you haven't listened to his music yet, you need to.
Yeah.
Um, but I would just kind of go and watch because I think I always wanted to be an artist and be on stage and stuff like that, but it's all like baby steps, right? So I would just go and watch. And I probably would have continued to just watch and never actually get up and perform if I hadn't seen Moel perform first and been so like just taken by his performance, his voice, everything. And then, chatted him up afterwards. And then we became good friends. And then he just decided to like really encourage me and for whatever reason, like push me in that direction. but in like a really chill way, like, oh, hey, just like come up and sing with me, like no
Yeah.
big deal. And so I just like go up and sing with him, and it probably at first sounded like horribly, and after it wasn't just me and him, maybe I had the courage to like go up myself, just guitar and sing, and still probably sounded just, like cats in a bag, who knows. um or like some semblance of something there, enough to kind of, I mean, the people there were just so welcoming, so they're like, whatever you do, they're just gonna go crazy, applaud and everything like that. So super encouraging to just be in that environment every Tuesday, go back, the week leading up, try to prepare something. I think that's really what excelled me rapidly, just doing that. And then Jorge, my, vocal coach, opera singer from Argentina, he's like 65 years old, 70,
Oh wow.
and he's got an incredible voice. And so just going to him for probably the last 3 years, and him just helping me like work out my voice. Um, I think those two things combined, and then throwing myself into like crazy situations, like, oh, do you want to open for Mario? It's like, sure. It's like one of the
Yeah.
greatest singers of all time, is like perfect. I mean, that's maybe like the extent of like how scary it's got. Um, but yeah, I think just doing things that terrify me, and maybe I'm like an adrenaline junkie. I don't know.
Yeah. Maybe. Uh
Maybe we could dig into that. I don't know. Possible.
I mean, it ties into your love for sports too, and
True.
getting that adrenaline. And I think you
Hmm.
had said before that you had gotten injured. Is that right? Or am I
Yeah, I got injured a
misremembering
bunch.
that? But
Yeah,
like, then you were also starting to pursue music a little bit because you couldn't really handle that same intensity of sports.
yeah, yeah. The doctor was like, yeah. At one point, the doctor was like, if you get another concussion, like you could die. Like you
Really?
could literally not have like a brain going on anymore. So I was like,
Wow.
okay, like that's pretty, I guess that's that. Yeah. I mean, and all of it's coming out now, like the concussions and all these things. And it's a pretty serious thing. So like,
Oh, for
so then I'll be
sure.
at the cafe and Phil will be like, you ordered, but you never paid or anything. I was like, oh yeah, no, sorry about that. Like sometimes I have like little like mental things where I'm just like, is this because of that? Am I just a little bit spacey today? I don't know. I have my own theories, but
Yeah, I mean, you had to also seek probably that thrill somewhere else, and that you
yeah,
know, camaraderie in a way, right? With the
yeah,
music scene, because you had that in team sports all of the time.
hmm, absolutely.
Yeah. So when you first released, music, your first single, what was that feeling like to actually put it out into the world?
Unbelievable, an unbelievable feeling. I remember like we had a little like single release party, had a big projector with the music video, and like we did it properly. And like right away that song started streaming really well. I don't know if like Spotify's like, "Oh, here's a new guy, like let's encourage him." But I was like, "What? Like this is a real thing. Like make a song about your personal life, get a bunch of people in a room, watch a music video, everyone gives you an applause, and then digitally like people are listening to it. It's like what a thrill. Like I know music will always be something I just enjoy for myself, but I would definitely argue that there is something that feels really great about sharing it and having people resonate with it. Seeing someone like take your song and make like a cover video and then post that themselves because it touched them. It's like, I'm like, what is this? Like Spider-Man, like my brain just like expanding, and or like that meme where like you're expanding out of your body. I don't know if
Yeah.
yeah, like that's how it felt. Yeah.
Wow. And do you find that happens every time that you release music?
No, I've had another song that kind of did a lot better than that one, but or resonated a lot more. Who knows exactly how that works, but um, that first one was actually quite successful, more than most of my music.
Yeah.
Um, so maybe I was like chasing the dragon.
Well, also, it's your first time too.
Yeah, exactly. So raw.
Yeah. Your new single Grow is all about self-growth and remembering the growth that you've had. So can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Hmm. I kind of like in the pandemic, I observed, myself, I observed a lot of other people around me, just experience conflict within themselves, within their like relationships even.
Yeah.
And this whole cancel culture thing. And like, what if we were to use struggle and conflict as fertilizer for actually growing as people, growing closer within our relationships, and not seeing adversity and conflict as a bad thing necessarily, you know? Like what if our skin as these 2023 people gets like a little bit thicker that we can like push through things that just make most people these days like quit on themselves, on each other. Like what if we didn't do that? Like what if we sat in the pain a little bit and used it as fertilizer to grow? Like
Yeah.
that's the main message. Yeah.
And it's a message that I think people need to hear, right? Rather than being so divisive, to actually,
Mm-hmm.
sit and chat with someone. And I've done that before where a person's views are different than mine, but I've sat there and I've listened to understand why they think that way, or where they're coming from. It doesn't mean that I agree, but when you
No.
can cordially have a conversation with someone like that, I find it so beneficial, especially in today's day and age, because
Mm-hmm.
if you just totally ice out, and of course there's exceptions, like if someone is
Oh,
totally radical or
gotta protect
saying some
yourself.
outrageous stuff, of course you can ice them out.
Yeah.
But if someone just differs, based on your views, it doesn't mean that you have to totally tune them out, because you
Right.
may want to at least understand where they're coming from to then share
Mhm.
your point, right? Rather than being in
Yeah,
this echo chamber.
absolutely. Thought about that deeply, like recently, to think like the point of being a human being is to grow.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like not to like dull down the entire human experience. Like it is so diverse and it's so full of this and that and all these amazing things. But like really simply put, like the only reason we're here is to just grow, you know?
Yeah.
And that's kind of a beautiful thing, even though it's very simple, um, in my opinion, you know?
How do you continue to make sure that you grow every day?
Yeah, it's having lots of awareness and reflection, talking to yourself a lot. I don't know, but if you're going to be very aware and talking to yourself a lot,
Yeah.
um, you ought to be nice to yourself.
Yeah.
You ought to be kind to yourself,
Yeah.
because you're with yourself all day. So as long as you have like that a kind approach to yourself and a positive view of yourself, um, you are able to like be talking to yourself all day, because like situations just pop up in a second, right? And our prefrontal cortex just flares up with blood and we can't even think anymore and we just want to do the most impulsive thing possible. But if we're continuously walking with ourselves and whatever that force is inside of you that like brings out that best part of you, and you're in good relationship with that, it's like, and you see it as like a kind voice. you know
Yeah.
it's like, because I don't think there is like one answer. It's like, right now this is happening, but so I try to really, I mean, people, it's kind of like cliche at this point, but like try to stay like as present as possible,
Yeah.
because that's where I can like have the most awareness to um to do that exact thing, like to grow through life. And if like I'm missing each like present moment, like I think growth only happens in like the decisions that we make in the present moment. So like if you're missing every present moment, like you're always in the past, you're always in the future, you're
Yeah.
missing all of those opportunities to grow. And you're like my one pothos plant upstairs that has like a pot that's too small. It's just like it doesn't grow. It's just like the same size. It's green and everything, but it's just like, oh, it's just there. But yeah, nice to look at. But
It needs a bigger pot.
I think it needs a bigger pot. You know what? That's what I'm going to do after this.
Yeah, but I love that mindset, and it's something that I have to remind myself of as well,
Yeah.
being in the moment. and we can be our own worst critic sometimes. And so just being
Mm-hmm.
kind to yourself and realizing how far you've come, and even thinking about sometimes like the present moment, how you're living right now is you manifesting that, whether you realize it maybe or not, in the past, right? Your
Mm.
present self is where you once probably wanted to be, potentially.
It was your thought
And
of your future self that you were having in the present at that time.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
wow, I feel like we could talk about this for the for the
That's
whole
that's like
episode.
inception. It's like, whoa.
It's so
Yeah,
interesting.
it
Thanks
is
for
very
sharing
interesting.
that, and even the analogy about the plant too, right? About, sometimes you're confined with what you know, rather than
Hmm.
thinking bigger. And
Let's go.
that plant
Hmm.
is just thinking about, or not thinking, but like, in this space, and it's ready to expand, it's ready to grow, but there needs
Hmm.
to be that one other step to get there, which I think
Yeah.
you can help with a little bit there.
Yeah. I hope music helps me with that for sure.
Yeah.
You know.
So this single Grow, it's coming off your upcoming album, and which is L.I.T. And I
Hmm.
hope, I can't wait for that to come out. I think that's a couple months away, but what can fans expect from your upcoming album?
Introspection on the canvas of very um enticing musicality. I don't know what the word is.
Oh,
So I would say the musicality, the beat formation, the production is not boring. The topic matter is like, me living in a hotel for 7 months because I was doing this artist residency, and I'm just like, it's a very luxurious sort of experience, but I was just kind of alone, and sort of just
oh,
forced to like a lot had happened in my life up until that point. And I was just given this space to like process all of it. So, so giddy up. Yeah. I hope people like it. Yeah.
so you were in a hotel for 7 months, living
Yeah. It
there.
was like an artist residency program, the Marriott residence in Calgary. So they started this really cool program. The GM there was just very like, he's is into arts in general. He's like, why don't we do something really cool? So I saw this thing, I applied for it, and they're like, yeah, move on in. I was like, all
Wow.
right, bet. Like, sounds good. And yeah, like they were just giving me the space to write, create. I'd come down and share. I'd put on little concerts in the lobby every
Yeah.
couple of weeks. And yeah,
Yeah.
the workers at the front desk and the cleaning people, they're like still my family to this day.
Aw, well, there's something
Yeah.
so magical about a hotel, and
Yeah.
probably about living there too for 7 months. But I think there's probably also something that feels lonely at times as well, like just being
Yeah.
secluded to your room and having everything kind of there already for you, right? I'm sure the
Yeah.
food and the cleaning, and
Yeah.
it's almost like you don't even have to step outside. It's its own world. So,
Hmm.
you know, I guess that would somewhat assist with your introspection, but I'm sure
Hmm.
also it could have been tough and lonely.
Thank you for saying that. Yeah. No, it was difficult in some ways too. You had to push through the comfort, because some of the best art obviously in this world has been made through like extreme discomfort. So like so trying to make it was almost like so comfortable. It was uncomfortable how comfortable it was, you know?
Oh,
And
yeah,
so that was kind of like, I don't know. So Lit, L-I-T stands for Lost in Translation. So Bill Murray movie, Japan, he's there. I don't know if anyone's seen that movie, but it's just a movie about nothing, but about everything at the same time. Like he's just there. He's like, where am I? He's in between. It's a transitional time for him. And yeah, it's like talking about nothing. But I don't know. I think that's also how I'm trying to challenge myself as an artist, because like such a relatable thing. Like we're often just alone with our own thoughts,
yeah, for
and
sure.
that's just life. Like it's not always this big, exciting thing. Like sometimes it's the calm, like after the storm. So my
Exactly.
last mixtape, Don't Worry About Me, that was kind of the storm, you know, and this album is the calm after the storm, the processing. Yeah.
I love the song "Don't Worry About Me."
Yeah.
I I love that song.
Don't worry about me. There's nothing you can say. Don't worry about me. Don't need you to explain. Don't worry about me. I don't want it anyway. Don't worry about me.
Oh, it's so
A little
good.
bit angry. Yeah.
Yeah, but that emotion comes through, right?
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. I don't do well with that emotion specifically, anger.
Mm,
I don't really know how it lives in my body and how to, I'm like a very peacemaker, peaceful person. But I've learned how that can also be just a form of me coping with whatever. So really
right.
learning how to express anger and
Yeah.
let it out was so that song was incredibly and is still very therapeutic for me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
releasing it and getting it out there.
Yeah.
I love your covers, especially the As It Was by Harry
Oh,
Styles
yeah.
cover that you recently
Thanks.
did.
In this world, it's just us. You know it's not the same as it was.
I'd love to put in a formal request for you to sing that to me every night before bed
Perfect.
because that
We'll
it's
just
just
link
so
stay
good.
live. We can just,
Exactly. Every night. It's so good. And it really I hope that you
yeah.
release a full version of that because that was
Yeah.
incredible to hear.
Thanks. Yeah. Like I would never dig into these songs. I'm really just so releasing my first single in a week, as you said. And so I'm just like, how can I just like engage people in a fun way? Um, okay, let's do covers. Let's get them to choose which covers I do. Okay, so now I'm looking at these songs that people have chosen, and I'm like looking at these lyrics, and I'm like, wait a second, there's like so much more to this that I
Yeah.
don't even understand. Like, but there is something here. And of course, like the original version of that Harry Styles song is like do 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 do. And
Yeah.
I think it's brilliant how artists can take something that they're truly going through and
Yeah.
just put this bubblegum wrapping on it because it's kind of more for them and they know like the masses will just like do 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 kind of just like mindlessly bounce along to this song. But there will be a few people that get the opportunity to sort of break through that layer, that bubblegum wrapping, and figure out like he potentially, in fact, probably is talking about something pretty real in this
Yeah.
song. And when you kind of
Yeah.
change the format of the song and make it acoustic, make it this, it's like, wait a second, there's more to these people than meets the eye, I think.
100%. And
Yeah.
you changing the format, like you said, it really makes you start to think about those lyrics
Mm-hmm.
just by changing the way that you're expressing it and performing it. And yeah, it's a lovely version. And I'm so glad that you're willing to sing it to me every night before
Yeah,
bed moving forward.
absolutely. This offer lasts forever. Lifetime membership.
So you're a dad now to a daughter, and you've said that she's taught you about life. I'm wondering about what she's taught you and what you hope to teach her.
Malaya has taught me it's kind of like maybe answering both questions at the same time. But I had this thought, I think, last
Yeah.
night. Um, like with relationships, I'm really trying to like I was saying earlier, like increase this like positive self-talk and
Yeah.
see myself. Um, my roommate Johnny said something about he read in a book that who we believe our identity to be will influence like our impact in this world. Like, so if I like, you're even asking me like, oh, how do you see yourself as an athlete or an R&B singer? Like,
Yeah.
if I, Jared, believe I am an R&B singer, then that's the truth. Then I make R&B songs. And then I have maybe a sustainable career that
Yeah.
provides for my daughter financially. It's like, if you believe you're a, podcast host and, a journalist in a sense, it's like, that's who I am. Then you
Hmm.
do those things and you bring that beauty into the world. And so, in relationships, trying to put on a different identity to be like, I'm a good person to be in a relationship with. I'm a good fill in the blank. Um, One thing that's not even been in, it's been like I want to say effortless because I don't even think about it. It's just being an amazing dad, you know,
Mm-hmm.
just because I enjoy it so much. And it's like, it's addicting. Like my identity, who I call myself, is influences like who I am and what I continue to do and get better at, I guess, grow in. And so I see myself as a good dad, I think, because I also had a good dad. And so like I naturally just want to recreate all those awesome memories and experiences. Um, and so I I don't want to say I haven't had the greatest success like in other relationships in my life, but like I'm single, right? So I've been a boyfriend, right? Before, and obviously I'm not with that person still. Not to say like that automatically means I'm like a failure, but I think that's sort of an example of like how that thought path can go. Like, oh,
Yeah.
this relationship didn't work out, therefore I'm probably not a good boyfriend. Therefore, and that becomes like what I'm like that becomes my identity as a person in a relationship is what I'm calling myself. Like, oh, I'm probably not very good at it. I'm probably versus like in the arena of like being a dad, it's like, no, I am good at it. I am a good dad. How that sort of influences me to be that and to have a super successful relationship with my daughter. And we have an amazing relationship.
Yeah.
And so I think that's what she's teaching me. Like I am good at relationships, you know, and I have the ability to have like amazing relationship, an amazing relationship, because I currently have an amazing relationship with her.
Mm-hmm.
So I know that's what she's teaching me. She's teaching me a lot like about myself and what I'm capable of and like healing me a lot there. What I'm teaching her, oh my goodness. I think she's getting quite musical. Like she loves to
Oh, really?
play like and she loves to sing even though like there's no like English words coming out yet or anything like that. Um, but I think she's getting really musical, a good sense of rhythm. I'm always singing. You know, we're always like rocking to like Coco Melon in the car and just pumping that all the time. So I think she's learning a little bit of that from me. And I hope that she's just like learning joy and happiness and kindness from me. Because that's how I try to show up when I'm with her, like an asset-based approach. Like, Malaya,
Yeah.
trust me, this world's falling apart, but there are some things about it that are great. And like, why don't we just focus on those things as we have an asset-based approach to this life? Better things will just continue to happen. Or we
Yeah.
can choose to focus on all the negative things that are like valid. They're definitely there. It's like, which pill will we take? Right. A Matrix
Yeah.
reference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're sharing that unconditional love for her as
Mm-hmm.
well, that you're
That's
always
it.
going to be there for her, which
Right.
I'm sure is great. And it seems like you're doing a great job as a dad.
Thanks. Yeah.
You talked about being single, and I'm wondering,
Mm-hmm.
if you could describe your perfect person, how would you
Mm.
describe them
My perfect person. Oh, it's like the
romantically?
romantically. Yeah. I like to think I am looking for something in someone that I'm also like striving to be myself.
Mm,
So
yeah,
someone who um kind of like they have that identity piece sorted out in terms of like who they see themselves as.
yeah,
I think that's super important. Like who do you see yourself as? If there's a break in that or you don't see yourself in this positive way, um, people are going to be like reaching for all different types of things to feel that affirmation from external sources, right?
hmm,
Including you sometimes, like even in a conversation with you, you'll feel like, oh wow, like um there's always like it's always nice when someone can just they truly have a good opinion of themselves or like
yeah,
they know that they have worth and they know that they have value. Um that always puts me at ease. But you know, I don't think it actually was Nelson Mandela, but people credit it like be the change you want to see in the world, or like that's also been said a billion other ways. Like whatever you're trying to see in someone else, like be that yourself. Um, and so that's kind of what I'm doing, or at least I'm thinking about, you know. Like, am I settled into what I see my identity to be? And am I content just being that and doing that, making music, showing up for my daughter? Not only am I like accomplishing those things, but like, am I experiencing joy like as I'm doing? Because it's
Yeah.
pointless to be a dad or be a musician if you don't have fun doing either, or
Yeah.
if you're not experiencing joy while doing it.
Yeah.
So I'm just truly like, I don't know, trying, like these words like trying and all that. I don't like those words, but I guess you could say I'm trying to like be there and sink deeper and deeper into that reality.
Hmm.
Because I do know that that is what I'm attracted to in other people for sure.
Yeah. Thanks for
Yeah.
sharing that.
Yeah, you bet.
And when you're writing music, are you usually thinking of a certain person from your past or a bunch of different people? Is there kind of that one person that's usually your muse?
In the past, yeah,
Yeah.
to be honest, but have shifted, I think, from that
Okay.
in present day, which is good and such a weight off my shoulders, to be honest.
Really?
Um, yeah, yeah, and like I just want to be more of like an observer of this life that we're living. And
Hmm.
even if I'm not attached emotionally, internally to like a romantic partner, there's still lots to sing about. Like if you were to tell me about your relationship experience, like I could put that in a song, or um, or even like I think it's totally fair to like draw on past for me. Like I'll draw on past experiences of how I felt in the past about something
Yeah.
and just put it on for fun as a present feeling, even though it's like I'm not even there. And I think that's sometimes where people get confused. They're like, "Oh, is this song about this person?" It's like, well, yeah, it was, but it's not currently how I feel. But that
Yeah.
shouldn't even matter, anyways. Like, I hope people just give people creative liberties to sing about, what they want to sing about.
Do you ever get that text or phone call of the person being like, I heard your new song?
Yeah, well, never. And I'm sure a lot of people can relate. It's
Yeah.
like maybe the one person you want to do that or to say that. That's the
Yeah.
person who never will, right?
Yeah, but they're still listening, I think.
Okay.
They may not want to admit it, but
Yeah,
they're still checking up on you probably.
right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing that. You've likened the songwriting process and putting out music kind of like therapy or journaling. And a lot of people would keep their journal to themselves, or they write in it expecting no one to ever see it. So what's that
Right.
like for you to really put a pen to paper with how you're feeling and being so vulnerable and then releasing it into the world? You're kind of releasing your own journal into the world.
Hmm. I like it. Like I find it, I think if I stop and think about it long enough, I'm like, okay, that is weird. And that is like, why do I do that? But maybe I just don't think about it that deeply. Like I only think about as far as I'm writing it, I'm making music about it. And I know that usually after I do that, I send an email to my manager with the file of the song. And then I don't really know what happens after that. And so that's as far as my brain goes. And then I go
Yeah.
back to the beginning. So it still remains like a personal experience for me.
Yeah.
And the fact that it becomes public, I just don't even think about, because my hope is that people aren't like, I'm I'm confident that people aren't thinking about me and my life when they're listening to my music. I would
Yeah.
hope they're thinking about themselves and their life.
Yeah.
Like that's the whole point, you know?
For sure. No,
Yeah.
definitely. And
Hmm.
sometimes if an artist is too literal in sharing the meaning of the songs, right?
Hmm.
It can almost take away the magic of listening to it as a listener and putting your own
Right.
meaning to it.
Totally. Or if I get very specific, like they're like, I can relate, I've been
Yeah.
there too. And
Yeah.
that I can relate with that myself. For me, like I really hope, like I'm using it as therapy. The music itself doesn't actually come, it comes to me. It's not from me, it's a
Yeah.
gift as well that I caught for a moment and just kind of passing on. Yeah.
I love that. Passing on your talent, sharing it with the world.
Yes, being a good diligent filter, hopefully.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
What would you say, if you feel comfortable sharing this, was the toughest time in your life?
Hmm. Um, Probably my like a breakup, you know?
Yeah.
Um, just like I think it has to do with like that identity piece. Like I was in a relationship, I was just like, you know what? I don't want to I don't want to date, you know, I don't want to just be
Mm-hmm.
like, you know, um, and so I was like, okay, I'm find a relationship that seems great, and I'm just gonna sink into this, like no matter kind of what happens, negative, positive, like that just all comes with it. It comes with anyone that you end up with, you know, it's not all
Yeah.
positive, it's not all negative. So I really like sunk my heels in to be like, this won't fail or this won't fall apart no matter what. I can be kind of like stubborn if I really put my head to something. And there were some unhealthy things about it, I think, on both
Mm-hmm.
sides that maybe we didn't deal with or whatever. But I was just like refusing to let it fail. And I think that's what made it so hard when I had to let it go. Like I
Mm-hmm.
realized I couldn't fix it. I couldn't I couldn't keep digging my heels in to like not let it die until the point where I had to like literally like force it from my grip myself. That was a very difficult but very um, formative experience for me
Mm-hmm.
because my identity isn't, you know, a boyfriend, a husband of fill in the blank. Like my identity is me, is who I am. Whether I'm in a 20-year long marriage or whether I've been single for 20 years, you know, it's like both of those scenarios don't change my true identity of who I am. It's not
Mm-hmm.
dependent on um, anything I do or accomplish. It's like it has to do with who I am, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and we're not as in control as we think we are, you know, and there's such a liberty and freedom and joy that comes from like letting go of all this stuff that we're not meant to like be in control of anyways.
Yeah.
Like I can control how nice I talk to myself each day.
Yeah.
You know, I can catch myself and be like, well, that's this part of my brain going this way. I can
Yeah.
like that's and even some days are difficult with that, right?
Yeah.
But like that is the entire um effort of life is to just
Mm-hmm.
have some awareness of that area instead of like trying to control everything else around us because it's like it's not productive, you know.
Oh yeah.
And so yeah, learning that lesson was like super painful. I remember I cried some pretty aggressive tears.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you know, and then like difficult stuff happened right after that too, you know. Like the birth of my child wasn't expected. Um there's there's more to the story, but basically, you know, had dinner with a friend and we had a baby, right? And that was a shock at the time. Um to be like, whoa, what does this mean? Like, am I ready? Like, I
Yeah.
mean, I've always wanted to be a dad, so I think there was like a thing that kind of like even if I was like shitting myself and panicking, there was a
Yeah.
small part of me of like, no, you will love this eventually. Like,
Yeah.
this is a good thing, you know.
Yeah.
Um, but there was an element of that that was definitely difficult. But I think because I had just processed and went through what I would call like the most difficult thing in my life,
Mm-hmm.
um, it equipped me to have a better chance at surviving the next thing and the next thing, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Thanks for opening up about that. And
Yeah, dude, anytime.
yeah, and even you sharing, you had those moments where you were crying, and I
Hmm.
think it's something that a lot of men don't necessarily talk about, which is mental health. And
Right.
as someone who just opened up about that, and you seem so vulnerable with your music, how do you ensure to keep your mind healthy?
Well, I mean, I'm thinking of answers to your questions on the spot, but I think maybe a key to it is um like what you just said is like feeling what you feel, you know, like
Mm-hmm.
let yourself feel things, in
Yeah.
general. Like I just watched his episode 3 of The Last of Us, the new HBO zombie show. Anyways,
Yeah.
there's a really nice sort of relationship in, I think, episode 3. And I was just like a soppy mess afterwards, and it
Oh,
felt really good. I'm like, wow,
yeah.
this is what it means to be human,
Yeah.
just feel
Yeah.
things and be present.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let it out too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you were sitting with your younger self, younger Jared was sitting in front of you, what would you tell him?
That you are super talented, that you are going to be a great dad, that you have an amazing family and you know it now, but it will always remain an amazing family, and your memories and experiences with those people are only going to get better. That you are going to continue to be a curious person, exploring life. And that might not be the most solid, kind of predictable sort of life path of, go to school, get this job, do that thing, get this house. That'll be more of like a go to school, get a job, get this house, lose that house, maybe get another one, maybe start another job, different job, maybe explore your passion with music, and just fall in love with it and let yourself be, and you will allow yourself to truly do what you're passionate about eventually. I might encourage that person to like let themselves do that now and like not feel so pressured by like what that person feels like they should do.
What the younger Jared would have felt like there's the pressure maybe.
Yeah, I think like I would have just removed that word from his vocabulary. It's like there is no should. Like who's the rule maker of what you should do?
Yeah.
What? Where did that word ever come from?
Yeah.
Stuff like that. But me doing what I thought I should do, I think there was a little bit of like, I always let myself just be curious. And so within the parameters of what I should do, I had like incredible experiences, like I studied in international development. I worked and traveled in like 38 countries. I was away for 6 years, lived in Africa for a while, like all these things that it was still kind of in the parameters of what I felt like I should do, but expanded my worldview like drastically.
Yeah.
And my music wouldn't be the same as it is now, for example. So yeah, I think it was like, I just tell him like, keep doing what you're doing, but just like more grace for yourself, kinder words for yourself.
Yeah.
You're okay. You're
good.
Yeah.
I mean, even hearing you talk about that, it made me feel emotional. Do you feel emotional when you're thinking about that and talking to yourself?
Yeah, definitely. I just like, first of all, I had no idea I'd have, like, I know I'm just like cliche, but I didn't think I was capable of having like a more amazing kid come from me somehow. Like I wouldn't have been able to predict, like she's so cute, first of all. Obviously she's so much more than that, but like it's insane. Like even people that I know, they're like, what the heck? Like this kid is way too cute. I'm like, I know, I have no idea how that sort of came from me, like red beard, all these things like that. I would have never been able to predict that in a million years. Like, yeah, she blows my mind.
Thanks for sharing all of that and opening up.
I could go on and on.
Yeah, well, I appreciate it. Do you have a favorite lyric that you've written?
Yeah, in my song Garden, and that song is just about being yourself, your identity, you're loved, being in this garden is just this magical place, of like just freedom, nakedness, like quote unquote, or literally, it doesn't matter. The first line is, it's not that you come to me, it's how you do it.
It's not that you come to me, it's how you do it. It's how you doing it.
So for me, it's not like what I'm doing in this life. It's like how I'm doing it. It's not like, oh, I do something nice for someone. Cool. But like, how did you do it? Like,
Mm-hmm.
how did you say that? Like, where was your heart? Where is your heart at? Like
Yeah.
that question that cripples us. Like, where is your heart at? Like, what's going on? What's really going on? It's like I think it's a quick lyric and people kind of most people just glaze over it, but it's like not that you do this. It's how it matters. Like the things we do in this world, like kind of matter, sort of like, oh yeah, you accomplished all this, you did all these great things, but like who really cares? Like who were you through that process? Like how did you do what you
Yeah.
did? Um, that would be what influenced how much joy you felt through that. That would have influenced how much joy you made other people feel through that. And like
Yeah.
those things matter way, way more, in my opinion, than like what we accomplish.
Mm-hmm.
It's like how we accomplish them. I
You
don't know.
said it so well, and that's a great lesson to learn. And it's interesting because, leading up to this interview, I was listening to more of your music. I'd obviously checked it out before, but this morning I was listening just on shuffle, just on Apple
Oh wow.
Music. Yeah, and Garden came on. And I
Oh
was like, "Oh,
wow.
what's this song?" And I actually like looked at the title and saw the
Yeah.
beautiful album art of the fort, like lots of greenery.
Japanese garden. Yeah.
Oh, it was beautiful. And there's so many mixes of sounds in there. I think I may have heard an electric guitar riff. There was some kind
Yeah.
of riff in there. I don't know if it was
Brett. Yeah.
electric guitar, but it was like it was a vibe.
Mhm.
And I love the
That's Brett.
song. It was so good.
Yeah.
And I love the song "Good Days" by SZA. I don't know if you know that song, but
Yeah. I love that song.
I'm
That is an
obsessed with
amazing
that
song.
song.
I'm
I don't know if
obsessed with
that
this.
I literally every night I listen to that song, and I don't know if that
Wow.
inspired you at all, but I definitely got a little bit of a vibe of that. And
Wow.
so yeah, I definitely clicked with that song and the meaning behind it. And yeah, just
Yeah.
about being your true self and opening up. And I almost got a vibe of kind of living in the present. And I think that that's why it reminded me of Good Days a
Mhm.
little bit as well.
It's a massive compliment. Thank you. I love that song. Love it.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
feel like that's one of those songs. It's like, oh yeah, pop R&B, radio, da da da. But wait a sec, it could be the most profound song of our generation. Like
Oh,
potentially, there's so much more to that song that I want to
yeah.
even like dive deeper into. I think there's so much there.
Yeah.
That song blows my mind. Yeah,
I agree. I think we could do a
yeah,
whole podcast episode literally dissecting
probably dissect.
that
I love that
song.
podcast. Yeah,
Y- Yeah, I haven't heard about that podcast. Dissect, it's called.
yeah, you should
Oh,
check it out. It is
it's about
incredible.
music.
Yep.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Okay, well, literally, but like
Yeah.
even the lyrics in that song, like "Too soon I spoke," and
Hmm.
living in the present because it's right now, and talking
Hmm.
about youth, and
Yeah.
I agree with you. There's just so much more to it, and just scratching the surface. And that song reminds me of that meme that you're talking about, where you have your headphones in and you're
Yeah.
levitating.
Yep. Yep. I
Oh.
want to cover it, but I want to do it like well, I'm just
Please
like,
do
well,
it. Please
yeah.
cover that song, and you can even incorporate it as you're singing "As It Was" to me to bed. You can add
Perfect.
in "and Good Days."
This is gonna be a nightly concert,
Yeah.
little set,
Yeah.
nighttime for Ryan. I'm into it.
I feel like a VIP. So
Yeah, well,
thank
you
you.
should. You are very important.
Yeah, I appreciate that. All right, I have two more questions for you here, and then
Yeah.
we'll wrap it up. I'm curious to know how TikTok and social media and even like radio, how that's maybe impacted your music, right? Because people are listening in different ways. They're looking for different things in music. Of course, there's a lot of people that listen to the albums full form, and it's an art. But I think there's a lot of people that want that quick 15-second catchy tune. Has that impacted your music at all?
I think so. Like that is a wasteland that's so hard to like fully analyze and understand properly. I think first of all, I think with TikTok specifically, because I think it is what kind of makes or breaks like a musician's
Yeah.
career right now. Like
Yeah.
I could be wrong on that, but I might not be wrong about that.
Yeah.
Um, I think there's so much pressure around it as a creator. Like, oh, again, like the evil word should, like I should be on TikTok.
Mm,
I should be doing more TikToks. I should be posting every day. I should. I mean, the reality is like you should, but like don't think about it that way. I think where I've maybe found some success with it is um having more joy and more focus be on like what I'm creating and
mm-hmm,
just like getting my hands dirty, like in the dirt, creating things
mm,
and then post it on TikTok. It's like all my focus, all my focus, all my focus. Oh yeah. And then it's like,
yeah.
you know what I mean? Like you instead of like, oh, I should be like I'm making something right now. Like what are they gonna like on TikTok? Like all my energy and thoughts are still on TikTok as
Yeah.
I'm even creating, right? And it's
Yeah.
like, oh, it's like this big TikTok stress. I don't think that's like a productive stress. Where I've found a lot of enjoyment in this experience of like engaging TikTok more is like just at my desk, like making, you know, I'm getting more joy out of like the lyrics page on Google
Mm,
than TikTok, like reading through the lyrics of like, say, if I'm doing a cover and with my guitar in my own hands and playing it with my own voice
yeah.
and being like, whoa, like Harry Styles like said what like with this and like it feels like this in my body and like again that meme like my body is leaving myself, right?
Yeah.
And then I post it to TikTok, done. Like, you
Yeah.
know what I mean? It's just like,
Yeah.
and it's important to do it, but it's like again, the only point for us to do music or anything in life is like, do we have joy doing it? Do we feel like is it expanding us? Do we feel good about it?
Mm,
And if like you feel like with the whole experience with anything, like you're just not feeling very good, or you're feeling pressure or feeling like not good enough. Cause I think social media just it's so easy to let it just be this thing that reminds you of like how you're not good enough.
yeah.
I'm not this enough. I'm not that enough. I'm not this enough. Totally separate from like my experience, like learning song, playing it, making my own content, like making this music video that I'll drop to, like that I made with my little brother and him filming it and be like, do you like this scene? Do you like that one? I'm like, no, I like that scene. I don't know about this one. And again, our
Yeah.
hands are dirty, like we're creating. Of course, we're
Yeah.
going to post it to TikTok,
Yeah.
but I don't know. That's like a rambling way to like hopefully express how I feel about social media and how it's the tool to launch you and to put food on the bread for my little girl and everything like that, for sure. But don't let it be your master. Be its master.
Wow. I think that you phrased that so well.
Yeah.
And, it's something that I'm kind of similar, creating podcast content or video content and spending all this time editing the long form of it,
Right.
right? And of course you're thinking throughout it, oh, this could be a cool clip to encompass, what the interview is about. But
For
I
sure.
I get the excitement about creating the long form, and then I'll maybe pick a clip, and then I get excited about, okay, now I can transform this clip into sharing it in a more TikTok format, but I'm not creating the content just for that. That makes
Yeah.
sense.
And say if there's like a quick clip that you really liked, as you're creating that quick clip and posting it, you have joy remembering how fun it was in that moment talking about
Yeah.
that thing with that
Yeah.
person, and that's what's consuming you.
Yes.
um but of course you're making a quick little clip and you're posting it, you're just assuming it'll have that same effect on other people. But
Yeah.
like right now, like we've never met before, and here we are like having a really great conversation and
Yeah.
connecting, and it's so much fun. That
Yeah.
needs to be what it's like literally all about. Like almost all of it needs to be about that. There's like
Yeah.
1.001% of it that is like take this, edit it, post it to TikTok.
Yeah.
But like literally all of it, the whole point of it all is like it's just this. It's like the joy that we feel right now in doing this.
Aw. Thanks,
I think.
Jared. I'm having fun too.
Yeah. It's like that like class. I'm becoming more and more of like a dad, like, aren't we having fun? Like, just has to like name like what's going on. Like, isn't this fun?
Yeah. Do you have any
Yeah.
dad jokes yet?
Oh, I'm full of them. Like
Really?
I've always had that swag too, like dad style. Like everything I
Oh,
wear, like big chunky New Balances. Like it's just I've been a dad, I feel like my whole life.
yeah.
And I'm just not afraid to like make a bit of a fool of myself. People are like, oh, he's dad jokes, but like I know I'm being that dad, but I also just like love it, you know?
Well, I mean, you do have that cool style, and it's interesting how it's gone
Thanks.
back because, like, back in the day, people, I feel like growing up, you'd be like, "Oh, that style." You'd see old photos, and
Yeah.
you're like, "Oh, that
Yeah.
style's weird. Like, what were we doing?" And then
Yeah.
now it's like, I
Oh,
literally got
who knew?
invited to a '90s party tonight. I'm
Oh,
like,
amazing.
this is the style though that people are rocking now again.
Yeah, it's true. Exactly. And you might like for me, I wouldn't need to change a thing. I just show up. So it's like
Yeah.
perfect. Yeah. Dad jokes though, all the time. All the time.
Do you
But
have one for us
they're
right
just
now?
off the cuff. Oh, dad joke off the cuff.
It's okay
I
if you
think
don't.
like that one is just like that. I think that's so funny. Like that dad or that mom that's just like out of literally nowhere.
Yeah.
Aren't we having fun? Like,
Yeah.
well, I was having fun until you
Yeah.
said, but now it's like now I'm not having fun. Yeah, I've more of a dry. You'll find if we, I have more of a dry kind of British sense of humor. A little bit dry, dark. It's a dark sense of humor, but not in like a twisted way. Just like
Oh,
dry.
that was a pretty good accent.
Sarcastic. Yeah, I really identify as a British person.
Really?
I truly and like R&B, like Craig David and like the Nippa, like this new R&B, like all these
Yeah.
people, like Georgia Smith, all these people. I'm like, I wish. I love it. I studied in Scotland and I go to London a lot and um so I don't know. I just love that. I love it so much. But I'm not British. I am maybe like ancestrally, but it's a fake accent. But I love to put it on.
It was pretty good. Have you ever done that at the bar? Like in the past, did you ever put on a British accent and have a whole identity?
Yep, I have. I have.
Did it work out for you?
I mean, to find work out, like I think when anyone goes to a club hoping that night will work out, it's like it never does, This isn't the type of energy we need.
Oh,
Yeah,
I think it's hilarious that you said that you identify as a British person.
I do. I truly do. Like, if I'm being honest with myself, I do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it was good. It was pretty good. All right. So final question here, and I love asking people this question. If you had a movie or a biography, about your life, what would the title of that be?
Mhm. Title of my life. It's like shameless plug, grow.
Okay. I mean, I do think that that would be a great title.
Yeah, it would because it would leave everything on the table. Like all the
Yeah.
situations that where I grew, like that would make it into the movie. And those are all like
Yeah.
the juicy bits. Like, the main character has to go through something in order for the movie to be interesting, I think.
Like being turned down at a bar for his British
Your
accent.
British accent, exactly. It'll mainly be about that. It'll actually be like, you know, like that movie Phone Booth, where it's all like in the phone booth. The whole movie will be like me in the club acting as a British person.
That's a great movie though.
Yeah,
I really liked
exactly.
that movie. So
Right?
I
Underrated.
I think that's awesome. Thank you for that title, Grow.
You're
I'd
welcome.
be down to see that movie.
Wait, is it called Grow? Or is it called, impersonation? Either way,
Oh,
British.
impersonation.
No, we'll go with Grow. We'll go with Grow. It'll be
Grow.
that movie. Yeah.
Okay. It's a
Yeah.
little mysterious. It's like
Right.
what's growing? What's the vibe? What's the
It,
story here?
it could be a zombie movie. It could be like a
Oh,
fungal growth that's infecting
oh,
people's brains. That's the thing you don't know. That's what gets people.
You don't know, and that's what gets people. And I can't wait for people to get to know you better with your upcoming music coming out and L.I.T coming out. I guess we should expect that around summertime, right?
Yes, in June. Yep.
Okay. I'm excited for all of that. And I just want to thank you for sharing your story with us today and opening up. And I felt like I really learned a lot from you, and I enjoyed our conversation. So thank you.
Thank you, Ryan. This was so much
Yeah.
fun, and looking forward to these nightly concerts. They're gonna be
Yes,
good.
we got to schedule those.
Perfect.
And there's a 2 hour time difference. So that works out
Easy.
for you, right? I'm
A
going
little
to
bit better for
bed. You're
me.
still up. You still
Right.
have the energy.
This is gonna work for me.
It's perfect.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Jared.
Awesome. Thanks, Ryan. See ya.